Hey everyone, welcome back to another lettuce garden scripting tutorial. In this video, we're going to go over how to make your own bounty system. So as you can see in the top right of my screen here, it shows me how much money I have and how much bounty is. So right now, I have $100 and 0 bounty. If I pull out this pistol and shoot this player, you see that my bounty goes up to $100. And if I switch over to the other player, if I kill the player that now has just killed me, I get their bounty and my bounty goes up as well. So I'm going to show you guys how to make this system. If you have any questions, make sure you check out our Discord server in the description. And you can get the assets for this on our website. Link for that is also in the description. Before we get started, make sure you check out our currency system video. I'll put a link to that in the top right of your screen. After you've completed that video, we have to make sure that we copy over all the scripts from that video into your new place or continue using that same place, whatever you want, because we need to access the currency system for this bounty system. Something else we need to do as well before we start testing is we have to go up to our game settings and go down to security and make sure enable studio access to API services is checked. Otherwise, our currency system isn't going to work. So we need that to be checked before we get started, or we're going to run into a bunch of errors. Now, I highly recommend either you have your own weapon systems for this or you download the file, because I've included a testing weapon system here. I just grabbed this from the toolbox. I literally just searched pistol and grabbed the first thing. So you can do that as well. Just search in the toolbox and search any type of weapon and just throw it into starter pack so that we have some type of weapon to test the system with. And yeah, so let's get started. So let's first talk about how this works. So if I open up this handgun script, and every script is going to look different, but they all generally have the same thing. So I can go into, it's probably in this shoot server script. Yeah, okay, we have it here right in front of us. So there's a function here called tag humanoid. Now this function might be named different in whatever system you're using, but what's within it is going to be the same. So what all of these weapon systems have in common is when a player dies, an object value with the name creator gets parented to the dead player's humanoid, and the value of this object value is the player. So what does this let us do? It lets us see who killed a player by accessing this creator value that's within the humanoid. And we can take advantage of this for our bounty system. Now, not every single weapon system is going to have this. However, the vast majority do. So there's a very good chance that the system you're using already has this. If you have a custom system for your game, it might not. So you might have to add this functionality. But most systems will have something like this within. So we can close out that gun, and we won't need that anymore. And we can come up to server script service and make a new script. And this is going to be the script where we create our bounty system. So let's write out the kind of foundation of our script here. So we need to detect when a player dies. So let's make a function here called character added. And we're going to pass in the player here. And then the character will be, I cannot spell today, character equals player.character. And then the humanoid is going to be character find first child humanoid. Now, because we're creating this as an on-character added event, we have to actually listen for when players are added to our game so that we can call character added when a character is added. So we can do here local function player added. We also get the player here. And then what we can do here is we can say player.character added connect character added. So every time a character is added to the game, we're going to call the character added function. Oh, actually, sorry, we have to change this a little bit. So character added, if we did it this way, the variable that gets passed in is the character. However, because of the way we need to develop the system going forwards, we're going to want this to be the player so that we can access the currency service and stuff like that. So instead of doing character added here, what we're going to do is we're going to make a custom anonymous function. That's what they're called. So we're going to call function with all the parentheses. And then we're going to manually call character added and pass in the player. Now there's a chance that when this script runs, the player already has a character in the game. So we can say here, if the player already has a character, so if player.character, then we're going to manually call it first. And every other time the character is added after that, so if the character dies and they respawn, we call character added. So now we can bring in our player service. Well, I guess it's not called player service, but it's accessed via get service. So game get service players. And then we can do here players.player added connect. And then we can pass it in player added. And we also have to make sure that if the script runs after players have joined the game, we also have to capture those players. So we can do a for loop for player in players get players do player added player. All right, so now we have our player added stuff working and our character added code will run. Now, something we have to change here slightly is right now we're doing humanoid find first child humanoid. However, if the character is just added to the game, the humanoid might not quite exist yet. So we're going to actually change this to be a wait for child so that we can guarantee that the humanoid is there when we need it to be. And now that we have this, we can actually listen for when the humanoid dies. So we can say humanoid.died :once function. All right, so this is a bit different than what we're used to. Usually we use connect when we listen to events, but in this case, we're using something called once. And the difference is connect will run every time a humanoid dies. However, once will only run once and one time only until a new humanoid is created. And the reason why this is important is because sometimes when a character dies, humanoid.died will fire multiple times, and that's going to confuse our system. We only want to detect when the humanoid dies one time. And yeah, and just that one time, so it doesn't confuse the system. So now that we've detected that the humanoid has died, we can see if there is a creator value within the humanoid. So let's make a variable. Local creator equals humanoid find first child creator. And these systems pretty much always use a lowercase c for creator. So make sure you put in a lowercase c. And what we can do here is we can say if not creator, then return. So if there isn't a creator within the humanoid, then the player wasn't killed. The player wasn't killed by somebody else. Now, there's a chance that with some systems, the creator might not be immediately in the humanoid when the character dies. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this slightly. We're going to say wait for child creator, but we're going to add in a max time. So what this does now is it gives our currency system 1 second to add the creator value to the dead humanoid before we acknowledge that it wasn't killed by a player. So what this means is we're going to wait for the creator to be added, but for a maximum of 1 second. So after 1 second, if a creator isn't found, then creator will be nil. And so we can be pretty sure here after a second, if there's no creator added, then there probably wasn't some sort of exchange where a player was killed here. So now that we have the creator, what we can do here is we can say local killer equals creator dot value. And now we can start accessing the bounty and currency service stuff. So let's first create our bounty stuff. So we're going to go down to player added here. And because we already have the currency service in this game, I'm just going to go back to that script for a moment. So down here in our player added, we're creating this leader stats folder. And then this is where we're storing our money value. And we're going to do something very similar here. We're going to access leader stats. So we can say local leader stats equals player wait for child leader stats with a lowercase l. And in this case, we're waiting for leader stats rather than creating it because the currency service is creating it. And we're going to use the same folder. So we just wait for it rather than recreating it. And then we can make a new bounty value. So local bounty value equals instance.new number value. And we can say here bounty value.name equals bounty. And bounty value.parent equals leader stats. So we're going to make a new bounty value. We're going to call it bounty and parent it to leader stats. And let's just test this out real quick to make sure that that's all working. So Just going to click play here, and we should see our bounty value appear. And looks like I might have made, I made a small typo. Line 19, so line 19, I misspelled character here. All right, yeah, so that's working. So we, in our top right here, we see what our bounty is and we see where our money is. So we have both of these values showing up now. So what we can do is we can make it so when somebody kills me, they get my bounty, and they also get their bounty increased. So let's make a new, some new lines here. So we can say here, we want to give money. So we're going to, so we're going to give money. So for this, we're going to need the killer, and we're also going to need the player. So, and we'll make a new function up here, local function give money, and then we'll have here the killer, and then this is technically the dead player. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the dead player's bounty and then award it to the killer. And so let's bring in our currency service for this because we'll need it. So local server script service equals game get service server script service, and then here currency service equals require server script service dot currency service, and then we can say here local dead player leader stats equals dead player find first child leader stats, local dead player bounty equals dead player leader stats find first child bounty. And then what we can do here is we can say currency service add money killer dead player bounty dot value, and then we're going to reset our dead player's bounty to 0. So dead player bounty dot value equals 0. All right, so we get the bounty value from the leader stats. We award the killer the bounty value and then reset the player's bounty. So now when a player kills me, I'm going to lose my bounty, and they're going to get that bounty as cash. And we have to make another function here to give the killer a bounty. So we can say here another function give bounty. We're going to get the killer. And actually, we're just going to copy some of these lines up here and just rename some of the variables. So rather than dead player find first child, we're going to do killer find first child. And rather than dead player here, we're also going to rename that killer. And then rename that variable to killer leader stats. So local killer leader stats equals killer find first child leader stats. Local killer bounty equals killer leader stats find first child bounty. And then we can do here killer bounty dot value plus equals bounty add amount. And we'll have to make this a new constant up here. So local bounty add amount equals 100. So the way this is set up now is every time somebody kills somebody else, they'll get 100 points added to their bounty. And this number can be whatever you want it to be. I just chose 100 randomly, really, but you can change it to be whatever you want it to be. And then underneath give money, we have to call the give bounty to the killer. All right, so let's review this. When a player is added to the game, which we detect here, we run the character added stuff, and we also create a bounty leader stat. When the humanoid dies, we check to see if there's a creator within the humanoid. If there is, that means some other player killed them. And then we can get that killer with creator.value here. And then we can give money to the killer, resetting the dead player's bounty up here. And we also give the killer a bounty every time they kill someone here. All right, so how do we actually test this? So within Roblox Studio, in the test tab, there is this multiple player test that we can run. So if you open this up, you can choose how many players you want to test with. Now in this case, we only need to test with 2 players. So click 2 and then click start. And this is going to open a whole bunch of windows on your screen that lets us run multiple player tests. So you might need to click login a few times, depending on which version of Studio you're running. So let me just sort all that out and I'll be back in a second. All right, so we have our multiplayer test set up now. So right now, player 1 has $100 0 bounty. If I kill this player, my bounty went up to $100. If I kill them again, it goes up to $200. Now if I drag over my other player, if I kill the person over here now that has a $200 bounty, we'll see my coins go up to 300. It's a weak gun, weak gun. Yeah, so my money went up to 300, their bounty was set to 0, and my bounty is now 100. So yeah, so the system works. If you have any questions about how the system works, check out our Discord server in the description. If you want the assets for the system, there is a link in the description where you can download those. I hope you liked the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If you didn't like the video, leave a comment explaining how we can improve, and I hope to see you in the next video.